Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is the Memory Management Group in Platform Technologies Operating System. For today's video, we're gonna tackle the memory management. This video is brought to you by Kenji Katawai, Gabriel Sape, and Andre Lumiwan. Alright, memory management is the functionality of an operating system that manages the primary memory, which includes the movement of processes back and forth between the main and the secondary memory during execution. Memory management tracks every memory location, whether it is allocated or free, and checks the amount of memory to be allocated for each process. It also facilitates that process allocation and correspondingly updates the memory status. Types of addresses used in a program before and after memory allocation. Symbolic addresses. These are the addresses used in a source code. The variable names, constant, and instruction labels are the basic elements of a symbolic address space. Relative addresses. These are the addresses at the time of compilation. A compiler converts symbolic addresses into relative addresses. Physical addresses. These addresses are generated by the loader when a program is loaded into the main memory. Commonly used terminologies in memory management. First bullet, frame. This pertains to a fixed length block of main memory. Second bullet, page. This refers to a fixed length block of data that resides in the secondary memory. A page of data may temporarily be copied into a frame in the main memory. Third bullet, segment. A variable length block of data that resides in the secondary memory. An entire segment may temporarily be copied into an available region of the main memory, or the segment may be divided into pages, which can be individually copied in the main memory. Fourth bullet, swapping. It is a mechanism in which a process can be swapped temporarily out of the main memory to the secondary memory in order to make memory space available for other processes. It is also known as memory compaction. Fifth bullet, fragmentation. This occurs due to the continuous loading and removal of processes in the memory, wherein free memory space are broken down into smaller fragments. This happens when processes cannot be allocated to memory blocks because of their small size and memory blocks remains unused. There are two types of fragmentation class. External fragmentation. This occurs when the allotted memory blocks are of varying sizes. This builds up due to the continuous removal of processes in the main memory. Internal fragmentation. This occurs when the allotted memory blocks are the fixed size, and the specific processes needs more space or less space than the size of the allotted memory block. Requirements that memory management intends to satisfy. First bullet, relocation. It is not possible for a programmer to know in advance which programs will reside in the main memory at the exact time of the program execution. Hence, the possibility that the program may be moved within the main memory due to swapping should always be considered. In addition, swapping active processes in and out of the main memory to maximize processor utilization is also highly observed. Second bullet, protection. Each process should be protected against unwanted interference by other processes, whether accidental or intentional. Thus, program and other processes should not be able to reference memory location in a process for reading or writing purposes without permission. User process cannot access any portion of the operating system, neither the program nor data. Usually, a program in one process cannot branch to an instruction in another process, and without special arrangement, a program in one process cannot access the data area of another process. Third bullet, sharing. Any protection mechanism must have a flexibility to allow several processes to access the same portion of the main memory. If a number of processes are executing the same program, it is advantageous to allow each process to access the same copy of the program rather than have its own separate copy. In most cases, processes that are cooperating on some tasks may need to share access to the same data structure. Fourth bullet, logical organization. Most programs are organized into modules, some of which are unmodified, read-only or execute-only, some of which contain data that are modifiable. It would be a great advantage if the operating system and computer hardware could effectively manage user programs and data in modules.
What happens if you install 4 different brands of RAM in the same PC, each with different speed and capacity? We'll toss in 16 gigs of 3000 MHz RAM from Corsair, 4 gigs of 2400 MHz RAM from Micron, 8 gigs of 3200 MHz RAM from G.Skill, and to round things out, we'll also toss in this unmarked stick, leaving us with a hodgepodge of RAM in this system. And as we power on the computer, we see that it does in fact spin to life, and we can see each stick of RAM individually recognized. However, we can also see some issues off the bat, namely that each of these are clocked at the same exact speed despite them being all rated differently. Trying to manually adjust the speed of the RAM above this number leads to a ton of instability, confirming that if you have multiple different speeds of RAM in a computer, it'll only run at the lowest of those speeds. In my personal experience, I haven't had a lot of crazy issues mixing and matching RAM, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. For example, each brand might use a different memory controller, which can lead to conflict. Various sizes of RAM can lead to syncing issues, and on top of that, each RAM might need different amounts of voltage. So if you have the means to, it's always best to get multiple sticks of the same type of RAM in your system, but if you're really in a pinch, your PC likely will still work if you mix and match.
Fifth bullet, physical organization. The task of moving and organizing information flow between the main and the secondary memory should be a system responsibility. This task is the essence of a memory management. Computer memory is organized into at least 2 levels. First level, main memory. This is a volatile memory that provides fast access at a relatively high cost. The main memory technically holds programs and data that are currently in use. Second level, secondary memory. This is usually a non-volatile memory at a cheaper cost with slower access. Secondary memory of large capacity is a good storage of programs and data for a longer term. Memory partitioning techniques. Fixed partitioning. The main memory is divided into a number of static partitions at system generation time, wherein a process may be loaded into a partition of equal or greater size. Nowadays, the use of fixed partitioning is uncommon in the industry. First bullet, it is simple to implement and produce only a minimal operating system overhead. Second bullet, there is a high chance of efficient use of memory due to internal fragmentation. Third bullet, the maximum number of active processes that can be catered is fixed. Dynamic partitioning. The partitions are created dynamically, wherein each process is loaded into a partition of exactly the same size as the process. First bullet. This technique has no internal fragmentation, which results in a more efficient use of the main memory. Second bullet. Inefficient use of the processor can transpire due to the need for memory compression to counter external fragmentation. Best fit. This chooses the block that is closest to the requested size. First fit. This scans the memory from the beginning and chooses the first available block that is large enough to cater to the process. Next fit. This scans the memories from the location of the last placement and chooses the next available block that is large enough to cater to the process. Simple paging. The memory is divided into a number of equally sized frames, while each process is divided into a number of equally sized pages of the same length as the frames. Then, a process is loaded by adding all the each page into the available frames. First bullet, it plays an important role in implementing virtual memory. Second bullet, this technique reduces external fragmentation. Third bullet, this technique may cause a small amount of internal fragmentation. Memory partitioning techniques. Simple segmentation. Each process is divided into a number of segments, wherein a process is loaded by adding all of its segments into dynamic partitions. First bullet, there is no internal fragmentation in using this technique, resulting to an improved memory utilization and reduced overhead compared to a dynamic partitioning. Second bullet, external fragmentation is a drawback of this technique. Virtual memory. Virtual memory is an abstraction of the main memory, providing processes and the kernel with their own, almost infinite, private view of the main memory. Virtual memory is made possible through the support from both the processor and the operating system. Some characteristics of a virtual memory. First bullet, supports multitasking, allowing processes and the kernel to operate on their own private address space without worrying about contention. Second bullet, it supports oversubscription of the main memory, allowing the operating system to transparently map virtual memory between the main and the secondary memory as needed. Third bullet, it is not a real memory and most operating systems map virtual memory to real memory only on demand, when the memory is first populated or written. Virtual memory paging. This partitioning method is similar to simple paging, but does not necessarily load all of the pages of the process. This has no external fragmentation and encompasses large virtual address space that may lead to a higher degree of multi-programming. Virtual memory segmentation. This partitioning method is similar to simple segmentation, but does not necessarily load all the segments of a process. This has no internal fragmentation and encompasses a large virtual address space that may also lead to a higher degree of multi-programming. That's all for the Memory Management Group. Brought to you by Kenji Katabay, Gabriel Sabe, Andre Lumiwan.